Well, welcome back, everyone, and welcome to those of you who are joining us virtually or are watching a recorded version of tonight's events. Our live stream event of this and our recorded event will be available on the Ethics in Business website, as well as the Samaritan Counseling Center's YouTube and Facebook page shortly. On behalf of the Ethics in Business Steering Committee, the Samaritan Business Consulting and Samaritan Counseling Center, we welcome you to our 13th annual Ethics in Business Awards event. My name is Laura Shantz. Prior to relaunching my solo consulting firm, I was involved from 1993 to 2016 with various central Pennsylvania businesses as a leader, a manager, a chief operating officer, owner, and president. In 2016, in September of 2016, I relaunched my solo consulting practice as a senior consultant. Laura Shantz Consulting Associates provides values-driven solutions in the areas of consulting, coaching, and communications to businesses and not-for-profit organizations. I'm pleased to be back as your MC tonight for this evening's program and awards presentation. Before we get started with the program, we would like to take a moment to pause and remember Scott Sheffey. Scott was a longtime supporter of the Samaritan Counseling Center. When the idea of the Ethics in Business program came up, Scott jumped right in. Ethics was a lifelong passion of Scott's. I could tell you more, but I think it would be best for you to hear it in his own words.
The thing that I always tell people is ethical behavior and a commitment to ethics is not a business practice. It's a human or a personal decision. And if it is such, it shouldn't reside just in businesses and organizations. It should reside in people's lives. So really, the more businesses talk about ethical behavior and lead their organizations by those ethical standards, the hope really is that everybody within those organizations in their way decide to maybe take some of those practices into their families, into their neighborhoods, into their churches, into their communities. And really our hope is that we actually get ahead of the ethics conversation to where it reaches children and youth so that we have fewer people coming into the workforce that need to be trained with what ethics truly is. So this is really about a community initiative more than just with businesses and organizations. And I think that's where the Samaritan Counseling Center has a great impact in the community.
I'm sorry, Scott was a close personal friend for 35 years, and I served on the first Ethics and Business Committee with him. And really thank you for sharing that video. Scott is missed by all who missed him and worked with him. And on behalf of Sandy Sheffey and Aaron and Rhonda, his wife, his two new grandchildren, and Mark and Megan Sheffey, and their new son, Nolan, who Scott didn't get to hold. We thank him for his service and for who Scott was in our lives and to our community. Now I'd like to invite Jim Weisscheitel to the podium. Jim is the director of the Samaritan Business Consulting, and he'd like to give us a review of the Samaritan Business Consulting in his own words.
Okay, thank you, Laura. And thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight and those who will be watching online. We're very excited about tonight's program. Before I talk a little bit about ethics, I just wanted to mention a little bit about Samaritan Business Consulting. Samaritan Business Consulting helps organizations and individuals in the areas of staffing and assessments, executive leadership and performance coaching, career and retirement transition, HR consulting, organizational culture, and training and development. Wanted to say a few things regarding ethics here tonight. You may have heard of the phrase, the squeaky wheel gets oiled. You all heard of that phrase, I'm sure. Well, that phrase doesn't work real well in relation to ethics. Ethics has gotten to the point of being somewhat expected and sadly, in some cases, taken for granted. People sometimes only pay attention to ethics when there's been a really something bad happening or a really serious ethics breach, such as an Enron or hitting a little closer to home, a Worley and Obit situation. But one definition of ethics that I like is doing the right thing when no one is looking. So because ethics may be taken for granted and no one may be looking, we want to focus our attention this evening on this very important topic of ethics. We want to proactively focus on organizations that are living and behaving with ethics, with good ethics, each and every day in the workplace. So that's part of the reason why we're here tonight. And that's one of the main reasons why we support the Ethics in Business program at Samaritan. So I hope you enjoy tonight's program, and thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Jim. I would like to take a moment to thank our generous sponsors who've made tonight's event possible. Our presenting sponsor is Lancaster Toyota. Our table sponsors are Vision Corps, Warfel Construction, and our community sponsors are Behavioral Healthcare Corporation, Community Services Group, Natural Light Films, Nextbook Media LLC, One-to-One Incorporated, Triode Media Group. We'd like to also recognize our event partner, the Lancaster Society for Human Resources. Thank you all for your help planning the event and getting the word out about this program and this event. Thank you all for your support and contributions to the Ethics in Business event. Because of this support, we are able to continue honoring organizations that do good by doing good and doing right in their business and communities. Please join me in thanking all of our sponsors for their support. As a testament of the importance of the Ethics in Business Award, I'd like to introduce Brad Allen, who's the Assistant General Manager of our presenting sponsor, Lancaster Toyota, to say a few words. Lancaster Toyota was the recipient of the 2019 Ethics in Business Award. Brad?
Hi, everyone. Congratulations to everyone who's been nominated and whoever, I guess I won't be up here then, but whoever is the eventual winner. I said this last year, that it's really a great honor to win or even be nominated for this award and recognized for doing things the right way. But even more than an honor, I remember thinking this, and over the last year now, or 9 months, I guess, since we've been here, it's a challenge. And it's a challenge to actually then live that out. And, we are far from perfect, each and every one of us are sinners in some way. And there are going to be times over the next year where you'll make a mistake or you'll say something to someone and think, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And I think that this award and this organization is something to look at and remember, this is what we want to strive to be. We want to strive to do things the right way, the ethical way, the way that glorifies God. And so I hope you all think about that. And again, thank you all for being here, and congratulations.
Thank you, Brad, for your words and reminding us that there's no perfection this side of heaven, but we can always strive for what is ethical in our lives. Now I would like to take a moment to recognize all the volunteers who made this event possible. The Ethics and Business Steering Committee guided this entire process and helped plan the event this evening. All of their names are listed in your beautiful program, and you can refer to them as you read that this evening. Once the companies and organizations were nominated, the nominees provided documents and worked on completing an employee survey. Once those steps were complete, our site visitors went to work. This year, we were so pleased to once again partner with Franklin and Marshall College. You will see comments from Professor Nancy Kurland, Associate Professor of Organizational Studies, in your program. Thanks to this collaboration, we were able to pair business professionals with site visitors with F&M site visitors, which always provides to be an enriching experience for both the students and the site visitors. You will see both the business, professional, and student site advisors listed in your program. To truly understand how difficult their job was this year, I will tell you that they started contacting their nominees to schedule their site visits at the beginning of March. We thought that the site visitors and nominees would step away from the program as we all went into that unexpected quarantine, but they didn't, not one. They problem solved, they got creative, and they figured out a way to move forward. All of the site visits occurred virtually, of course, and on time. Thank you to all of the site visitors for your work, your dedication to the ethics in business, and your extraordinary flexibility. Once the site visitors submitted their site visits, our anonymous selection team had a job in front of them. Our selection team is made up of recognized leaders within various industries in the community, so they come to this job with different perspectives. I can't say their names, but we extend our gratitude to each of you for a job well done, and you know who you are. Please join me in thanking all of our ethics and business volunteers. It is now my honor to introduce Dr. Gordon Zook. Gordon Zook serves as the Chief Executive Officer of 10,000 Villages, a fair trade realtor and wholesaler based in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Prior to joining 10,000 Villages in 2019, he and his wife, Carol, who is with him tonight, were the India co-country directors for the Mennonite Central Committee based in Kolkata, India. Carol shared with me that they were steps away from where Mother Teresa had her work in India. He has also worked with MCC in international leadership positions in Bangladesh for 8 years and 5 years in Haiti. In that time, he cultivated connections with fair trade artisan groups and served on the 10,000 Villages International Board of Directors. Gordon received his Bachelor of Science degree from Michigan State University and his Master of Science from Cornell University, both in agricultural economics, and earned his PhD in organizational leadership from Eastern University. Excuse me. As a global market-to-market movement founded in Lancaster County in 1948, talk about a group that was ahead of its time, 10,000 Villages connects artisans in developing countries with conscientious shoppers excuse me, in the U.S., offering ethically sourced handcrafted gifts, homewares, and fashion accessories. Excuse me one second. Jim, I'm going to need that water. By the way, I have no temperature, just to let you know. Every product generates fair living wage income for 20,000 makers in 30 countries who are ensured safe working conditions. Partnering with people often excluded from the marketplace, particularly women, 10,000 Villages shares the craft, culture, and stories of makers through a network of over 50 branded stores and 300 plus retail partners, as well as an e-commerce shop. For 7 years running, 10,000 Villages was named one of the world's most ethical companies by Ethisphere Institute, a leading business ethics think tank. His keynote tonight is entitled Ethics in Business, The Journey and Challenges Along the Way. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gordon Zook.
So, in late February, 10,000 Villages was seeing strong, sustained improvement in sales across all channels. And it was looking like our efforts to focus attention on how to sustain this growth were paying off. Just 3 weeks later, however, due to COVID-19, all of our company retail stores were closed. And our wholesale customer sales dried up as well, as retail stores across the country closed. Navigating this dramatically new situation presented us with several ethical dilemmas that remain ongoing challenges. Our organizational survival depended on conserving cash. This was also true for all parts of our store and supplier network. Addressing this need in an ethical manner required balancing our responsibilities to our employees, our local communities, and our international suppliers. After all, benefiting these suppliers is the reason we exist, and they have limited resources to deal with this crisis, which is affecting their countries as well. There were and are no easy answers to these questions. With the sudden disappearance of most of our income, do we maintain our payroll and protect our employees? Or do we need to furlough some amid a pandemic to conserve needed cash to preserve our long-term viability? How do we negotiate with our landlords, many of whom are small property owners with their own financial needs? How do we balance these needs with the need to pay our suppliers for completed product orders? These are similar dilemmas to what most of you are also facing. Some choices are clearly wrong. However, after removing those choices from consideration, there are still multiple paths regarding how to appropriately balance these conflicting demands. Ethical considerations have been important to 10,000 Villages since our founding. Our story began in 1946 when Edna Ruth Byler of Lancaster County was visiting friends who were in mission in Puerto Rico, teaching impoverished women sewing skills. She saw the beautiful needlework the women had learned to produce, but recognized they had no place to sell their handcrafts outside their local towns. Sales in these towns couldn't support anything near a living wage to honor the women's work. She knew the face of poverty from living through hard times herself during the Depression. She also knew the importance of dignity and people wanting to help themselves. Edna Ruth's idea for a response was a simple one. She would pay the women a price for their handcrafted embroidery items that gave them a fair return on their labor and other costs, and then sell those pieces to her friends and neighbors in the United States. Her goal was also simple: to get extra money into the hands of these Puerto Rican women so they could achieve some of the hopes and dreams they had for their families. Her motivation was to help others help themselves by doing what she could out of a concern for their welfare. Edna Ruth's simple act of kindness that was self-sustaining in its economic approach and life-giving for the women she worked with allowed artisans to lift themselves from poverty and realize lives of health and dignity. The organization that became 10,000 Villages was thus founded in the concepts of responsibility for others and following fair, ethical business practices that considered the welfare of everyone involved. Consequently, Lancaster County is a founding community for social responsibility and ethical business as expressed through the fair trade movement. So if ethics involves learning what is right or wrong and then doing the right thing, then business ethics is coming to know what's right or wrong in the workplace and then doing what's right. It sounds simple, doesn't it? We just need to learn what is right and then do it. And certainly there are people, we can find people who can teach us that. Then all we have to do is actually do it. But what happens when there are disagreements about what is right, or conflicts between two or more things that are right? How can those of us in business balance ethical demands and economic realities when they conflict, as seems to so often be the case? In the past, these issues were framed in a simpler fashion. In 1970, the Nobel economist Milton Friedman wrote, "There is one and only one social responsibility of business: to engage in activities designed to increase its profits. Companies must obey the law, but beyond that, their job is to make money for shareholders." And this became the widely accepted standard. Just last year, however, the Business Roundtable released a new statement changing the purpose for the corporation from shareholder primacy to stakeholder primacy. These CEOs of America's largest corporations committed their companies to delivering value to customers, investing in employees, dealing fairly and ethically with suppliers, supporting local communities, and protecting the environment, while also generating long-term value for shareholders. An example of these priorities that work closer to home can be seen in the Lancaster Chamber's new In Good Company initiative, which focuses on how businesses can create long-term value, not only for themselves and their shareholders, but also for their communities. Craig Dalen of Assets described a key value behind this initiative as helping businesses do well by doing good, and as a result, making Lancaster healthier, stronger, and better. Linda Fisher Thornton, in her book 7 Lenses, Learning the Principles and Practices of Ethical Leadership, identifies 7 interconnected aspects of ethical responsibility for businesses. These lenses, or aspects of ethical leadership, move from the narrowest to broadest conception of business ethics. In her order, these aspects of ethical leadership are profit, legal, character, people, communities, planet, and the greater good. But what are the challenges of a commitment to conscientious growth, financial transparency, the building of an ethical culture, the navigation of gray areas, and maintaining consistency in ethical standards? As a business grows, or as it struggles, it is all too possible to lose sight of what the company stands for. There is often a temptation to be more focused on profitability goals and to make ethical commitments secondary. Growth can also make it difficult to ensure that all employees follow expectations and live into a company's mission, vision, and values. So how do we try to incorporate business ethics at 10,000 Villages? As a nonprofit, fair trade, retail operation, we combine a social mission with sustainable economic, social justice, and environmental practices for the benefit of those living in poverty. In doing so, we strive to operate under organizational values that maintain integrity in our actions and relationships. Like our esteemed colleagues honored here today, we strive to illustrate that ethics and successful business can coexist. To us, fair trade means working with people in an honest and ethical fashion, honoring the people who make our products, and trying to keep them in the forefront of the business decisions we make. We work to ensure that they are financially stable by living up to price commitments based on the payment of fair wages, regardless of changes in the market, and that they have safe working environments without exploitation. But it's not always easy. Our top 3 goals are the following. 1, provide stable income to artisans in developing countries who are otherwise unemployed or underemployed. 2, make sure they get paid fairly for their work according to their local standards. 3, expand our market in the U.S. so that we can increase the number of orders and income for our artisan partners. We carry out our mission through a network of company-owned retail stores, affiliated stores owned and operated by independent local boards, an e-commerce site, and wholesale sales. This diversity of sales channels exposes us to broad competition for the attention and purchase dollars of U.S. consumers. We believe the fair trade model we pioneered of providing impoverished makers fairer access to the global marketplace has continuing appeal for consumers who are increasingly aware of how their purchasing habits affect the people who make what they buy. Many mainstream brands recently are trying to catch up with this cultural shift, but putting people and planet first have been the foundational elements of fair trade and our way of working from the very beginning. Consumers today are looking for opportunities to connect with producers in an authentic way. Excuse me. Fair trade enables them to learn about the impact their purchases can make and to become part of a global solution. Fair trade's fundamental pillars of fair wages, safe working places, and sustainability have strong appeal to today's ethically minded consumers. So a specific example may help illustrate illustrate how to use Thornton's systems approach to making ethical decisions. And as a reminder, earlier I stated this involves 7 aspects: profit, legal, character, people, communities, planet, and the greater good. So my wife and I worked with the Mennonite Central Committee program in Bangladesh in the mid-1980s, the 1990s, and again from 2011 to 2013. One of our projects involved developing handmade paper production facilities to use raw materials such as waste jute, water hyacinth, and other fibers to provide employment for rural Bangladeshi women. The products were sold through 10,000 villages and other fair trade wholesalers. We established small business enterprises with the women producers as shareholders. They were responsible for electing a management committee and shared in the profits. Ultimately, increased income opportunities for these women provided additional resources to improve their local communities and increased overall income levels in the area. Profits were critical so these businesses could grow, make the necessary investments, and reward their shareholders, the women producers. They needed to comply with local laws and regulations, but these laws provided only a minimum standard for ethical decision-making. And in a country like Bangladesh, they were often deficient or widely ignored. We needed managers with good character to ensure that these businesses remained focused on benefiting the women producers. Since many of the women were illiterate, managers without personal integrity could corrupt the purpose of the business to focus it on their own interests rather than those of the women. It gets a bit more complicated, though, when we look at honoring ecosystems. The use of waste products as raw materials for production was, and remains to this day, a benefit to the ecosystem, as it removed materials from the waste stream or used locally available materials that otherwise had no use or value. Legal requirements and social expectations around ecosystem protection, however, are constantly changing. So these concerns and our response to them needed to be continually reevaluated. One example was the need in 2012 to add new effluent treatment methods to treat the dyes used in paper production. We had to thoughtfully balance environmental protection with the income levels of the women producers. While they did sacrifice some income due to these additional costs, we were able to address the greater good. As we became more environmentally friendly, the business became more viable in the long run. And even with somewhat lower profits, the women were able to provide education for their children through the income they received. Another ethical challenge for 10,000 Villages is ensuring compliance throughout our worldwide supply chain with the fair trade principles of providing fair, stable income in safe workplaces, free from discrimination and exploitation. This compliance is critical to the integrity of our marketing messages, but difficult to verify in a dispersed supplier network. To help with this, we rely on groups such as the World Fair Trade Organization, which includes both supplier and wholesaler organizations. Verifying compliance, however, is costly, which again increases the cost of our products and makes it more difficult to compete with mainstream retailers who either do not verify compliance or who pass these costs on to the suppliers. From my personal experience and extensive reading, I'm aware of the critical importance of a strong ethical foundation for any business that wants to be successful for the long term, but also of the practical difficulties applying these ethical considerations consistently. This is an ongoing journey for me personally and us corporately at 10,000 Villages, which involves continual learning, self-examination, and the support of others like those of you gathered here. I want to congratulate each of the businesses being recognized tonight. This recognition acknowledges that others in your local community have recognized not only the values you espouse, but the way you live up to them in your business operations. The congruence between your words and your actions are noticed by your employees, your suppliers, your customers, and your communities. With recognition of this sort, however, as we heard earlier this evening, also comes greater scrutiny, as people will pay increasing attention to your continued commitment to doing business ethically. I wish you all well as you continue to walk this road less traveled.
Thank you, Dr. Zook. And who knew that Edna Ruth would have been lighting the way as you continue to lead the way. What wonderful work at 10,000 Villages. Thank you again for being here tonight. Samaritan Counseling Center's Executive Director, Gerald Ressler, is unable to be with us this evening. However, he wished to say a few words about the importance of ethics in business as we prepare to honor our final nominees and our award recipient. Gerald?
Good evening. I'm Gerald Ressler, the Executive Director of Samaritan Counseling Center. Thank you for participating in this event in the midst of new and challenging circumstances for businesses and for all of us. COVID and my approaching family gathering are keeping me from participating in person. Thank you also for your support of this time to celebrate businesses that are committed to ethical practices. Samaritan Counseling Center, along with Samaritan Business Consulting, is pleased to be the primary coordinator of the Ethics in Business Award. Our organization's mission is to foster hope and healing in every aspect of our work, and that can mean healing of emotions, minds, spirits, and relationships. This commitment is reflected in our organizational tagline, Healthy Minds, Strong Communities. Understandably, counseling is one way to accomplish this mission, but where we live and worship and work has a great deal of impact on one's sense of health. That is why, in addition to counseling, we are actively involved in the community in many ways, including support of the business community through training, coaching, and consultation, and yes, why we are engaged in ethics in business. Because if the places where we work are healthy, our individual and family health are supported as well. Again, thank you for participating. I look forward to the recognition of all of the nominees and the identification of our award recipient. Let's continue to celebrate ethics in business. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Gerald. Now, it is my true pleasure to honor the 2020 Ethics in Business final nominees. The criteria for the Ethics in Business Award are 5 principles of conduct. We expect that the final nominees will be models and mentors to others, as well as leaders in their business field. The 5 principles of the Ethics in Business Award are integrity, fairness and justice, stewardship, life-enhancing, and transparency. You can read more about each principle in your program and on the Samaritan's website. Through the Ethics in Business Awards program, we celebrate businesses and organizations that go beyond the expected with these 5 principles of conduct in mind. Those who succeed by doing things right, not just in the legal sense, but by doing right both by human values and the human spirit. To qualify as a final nominee, each of these businesses and organizations completed applications and employee feedback surveys. They provided comprehensive documentation and participated in an extensive on-site visit. In reviewing all of the final nominees' information, this year's selection committee stated that each one of the nominees are exceptional. It was a challenge to determine the final award recipient. Each business and organization brings incredible strength to the process. It is apparent that each of the final nominees are very well qualified. We thank each organization for their time and effort in participating in the nomination process, especially during this challenging time in business. The process was truly an ethics audit. Now, I invite Jim Weisscheitel, Director of Consulting, and Jody Reinhardt, Chair of the Samaritan's Board of Directors, to join me in the front of the room as we present the final nominees. The first final nominee is Achenbach Pastries Incorporated. In the heart of Pennsylvania Dutch country, Achenbach Pastries has been making fine baked goods since 1954. Achenbach pastries are carefully made from scratch on site in Leola. Achenbach is proud of its products and knows customers will taste the difference. Unfortunately, representatives of Achenbach were not able to attend this evening. Congratulations, Achenbach. HairDirect. HairDirect is our second nominee. HairDirect has been advocating for individuals for more than 20 years, and if their customers have taught them anything, it's this. Hair loss is a setback, but it's never a cause for surrender. HairDirect's guarantee and commitment to advocacy is why customers trust and choose them again and again. HairDirect's mission is to deliver transformative, personal victory every day for every customer. Unfortunately, representatives of HairDirect were not able to attend this evening, but we hope they're watching or will watch. Congratulations, HairDirect. Lancaster Works. Lancaster Works goes above and beyond a typical employment agency by providing more than a job. They level the playing field by offering wraparound support services that help job seekers overcome employment barriers and balance their home life. To better serve their workforce, Lancaster Works cultivates mutually beneficial relationships with trusted companies who can ensure an environment in which diligent employees can thrive. Lancaster Works is represented this evening by its CEO, Tyrone Miller. Congratulations, Tyrone. Excellent. Thank you, Tyrone. LINKBANK. LINKBANK is rooted in South Central Pennsylvania. LINKBANK is invested in its community it serves. Like you, LINKBANK is raising families and taking care of loved ones. Blending a strong heritage of banking expertise with strong values, LINKBANK is committed to providing compelling products, services, and financial consulting. The organization guarantees authenticity and enthusiasm. Unfortunately, representatives of LINKBANK were unable to attend this evening. Congratulations, LINKBANK. RLPS Architects. Since 1954, RLPS Architects' commitment to listening and responding creatively to each client's needs has resulted in their positive reputation for fresh and insightful architectural and interior design solutions. RLPS provides feasibility studies, master planning, architecture, and interior design services for clients throughout the United States. RLPS is represented by partner Stacy Hollinger this evening. Congratulations, RLPS. Stacy? Our sixth nominee is Susquehanna Sustainable Enterprises. Susquehanna Sustainable Enterprises' mission is threefold: to build a resilient community by providing healthy food and medicine, nature-based education, and dignified, meaningful employment, to rehabilitate damaged wild ecosystems, and to create a viable business model that transforms neglected wild spaces into sustainable agroforestry preserves. Susquehanna Sustainable Enterprises is unable to join us this evening. Congratulations to Susquehanna Sustainable Enterprises. Our seventh nominee is Upohar Ethnic Cuisines. Upohar, meaning gift in Bengali, was established in 2011 as a social impact catering business in Lancaster with a mission to offer the gift of distinctive global cuisine to its customers and the gift of employment opportunities to newly arrived refugees in Lancaster City. Today, Upohar is considered a certified B Corporation where customers can affordably dine on global cuisine, celebrate the culture of their staff, and contribute to the lives of people who might otherwise fall through the cracks of our system. Unfortunately, representatives of Upohar are unable to join us tonight. Congratulations, Upohar. Thank you, Jody and Jim. Congratulations to all 7 of our very deserving final nominees. Now we get another round of applause. That's awesome. Now we are pleased to present the 2020 Ethics and Business Award recipient.
I think the word I would use to describe RLPS would be integrity.
I think they're consummate professionals. It's a trust that you know that they have the background, the knowledge to do important work, to share with you things that you may not have considered.
Because they're so collaborative, I can honestly say that when they walk into our community, they leave their egos at the door.
Incredible group of talented individuals that become part of your team.
We are an architectural firm. We also do master planning, and we've got a strong interiors group as well.
Everybody here is kind of working to the same end, which is to create great projects, but create projects that are right for our clients.
My favorite thing about RLPS really happens, I'd say, daily in the office, and it's when people are running out the door to presentations, and there's always a voice that says, "How can I help?"
We have collaboration in the office, and we have a good time doing it.
We have partners sitting out on the floor, we have designers, we have construction administrators, everybody's out in the same studio space.
When there's a challenge, something that's presented within the office, everybody's opinion is valued.
You know, you can get in a funk where every day you're doing the same thing, but that really doesn't happen here.
You are only as good as your staff. They're the people that are delivering the work and creating the impression out there in the world. So treat them well and value what they have to say and be good listeners.
A lot of times when you talk about ethics, it's how you're dealing with difficult situations. I think that's where ethics really come into play. Our approach has always been address problems right at the forefront. If you think a problem's going to go away with time, in fact, it's just the opposite. Things will get worse. You take responsibility, and I think if you address that situation with a client or with a staff member very quickly, explain what you're doing and why you're doing it, that builds trust up between yourselves, your clients, and your staff.
We were founded in the 1950s, and we've grown to a national firm.
We realized years ago when we got even bigger than 80 that there's a point you cross where you no longer feel like a small kind of family business, and we didn't like it. And I think we've realized that 70 to 80 is probably our sweet spot, and we really don't have a desire to get a lot bigger than that.
I don't necessarily think of RLPS as just a career. For me and my life, it's really been part of my family.
Hard work is something that both drives, but it also inspires.
We like to nurture designers and kind of bring them up right out of school. We found that works best for us.
I think that, the way that we invest in the people, both in a work setting, but also from just a relationship standpoint. And we handle our clients the same way.
Soon after I started here, I was in a meeting and we were going around and around trying to make a decision on something. And then someone brought up, well, what is the right thing to do? And that answered the question right away. I remember thinking to myself, I made the right decision coming here to work.
Our track record shows that once people do come, they tend to stay for a long time.
We've done the research for our clients, so we know that connections with nature and views are important for people for their well-being and productivity if you're thinking of an office environment. And the neat thing for us as employees is you see that here at our office. To me, what better way to spark creativity than to have nature right there at your doorstep.
We do our annual gingerbread display in December.
We have started doing the food drive as part of the gingerbread display. It is a lot of work, and it's all after hours, so there's a pretty big commitment that goes into producing that every year. But it's all volunteer, and it's a lot of fun.
I love the community that our office has, just being able to take time for people.
It's not just about the special events, it's about those one-off moments where you have the opportunity to get to know your coworkers better.
I think it's a very forward-thinking firm, and I think as much as we work hard and take our jobs very seriously, the culture here of family and friendship and teamwork, I think, is pretty amazing.
Congratulations to RLPS Architects. Jody and Stacy, please come up to accept the 2020 Ethics in Business Awards.
I'm going to play social media and take a picture. Is that okay?
I'll go right ahead. That's one for the record books, an award with a mask, yes. Congratulations again to RLPS Architects, and congratulations to all of the 2020 final nominees. What an outstanding field. As the program comes to a conclusion tonight, just a reminder that the 2021 nominations are now open and will remain open through the end of the year, December 31st, 2020. We encourage you to consider your colleagues, businesses, and organizations that you've worked with over the years or your own organization for nomination. The nomination form can also be found on the back page of this evening's program. You may also find the nomination form on the Ethics in Business website. On behalf of the Ethics and Business Steering Committee, the Samaritan Business Consulting, and the Samaritan Counseling Center, we hope that you feel your participation in this evening and this entire Ethics and Business Awards program was worthwhile. Thank you for attending, whether in person or virtually. Thank you. Stay safe. Good night.